Are you a woman standing at a crossroads, eager for change? It's time to connect with your authentic and empowered self at Boss Leap. Join Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker in this empowering community where real-life stories of courageous and talented women inspire and motivate. Engage in honest conversations that foster well-being, drawing from our own journeys. Let us guide you toward profound growth and transformation in both your personal and professional life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker.
Welcome back to Boss Leap. We are having an exciting conversation today. Angela, how are you? What is going on with you today?
Glad to be here. Grateful to be in your presence. Beautiful fall day. By the time we air this episode, we may be shivering, but and just enjoying everything. Just got back from a trip to Europe, which has been on my bucket list for a while. Not necessarily the destination I went to, but just travel in general. You know, at this stage in life, it's always been. One of my passions is traveling, but
I got your postcard, so thank you. You know, postcards are my love language. I love the written word. I love a personalized note. So thank you.
It took everything I had to be able to mail it from Paris. I was like, I gotta be able to, I can't just take it home and mail it from Atlanta.
Yeah, you can. So, I do that all the time.
Well, I bought it and I was like, can I mail it from here? She said, sure. So yeah, Paris was amazing. It was beautiful. I think travel just puts your life in perspective in so many ways when you are learning about a different culture and realize that, you know, we're just a small piece of this, you know, beautiful world. And I think it helps you appreciate other cultures, where people are coming from. And I loved the process of enjoying each other's company when I was in Paris, in the cafes, sitting, eating and drinking and lingering, versus kind of what I feel is like our fast-paced, atmosphere here at home. So anyway,
you were in vacation mode. It sounds like that's
fantastic. I was completely. We were Carl and I. So it was really good. How about you? What's up with you?
You know, my last big trip, I went to Accra in Ghana, and the thing I like about being in Accra is I feel seen. I feel seen just as a woman, as a Black woman. And it is a really inspiring and affirming place to be. So I bring a little bit of Accra back to the States with me, and just feel so grateful for the time and the music and the food and the people and the dresses, all the things.
Beautiful. I loved your pictures. Absolutely beautiful. So you make it enticing. I have a long bucket list, but I am putting Accra on my list.
I definitely recommend. But today we have a wonderful, wonderful guest. We have Bridget Sims Lewis. She is an Emmy Award-winning journalist. She is a book author. Currently, she works in corporate communication. She's had her own PR firm. So she has been making boss leaps for a very long time. And we want to welcome Bridget Sims Lewis to Boss Leap. Welcome, Bridget.
Thank you both. I'm so happy to be here.
So excited to have you.
You are here.
I probably should, in full disclosure, just add one of her accomplishments, and that's putting up with me since middle school as my BFF. And there are so many more accolades that I could add on to your list, including teacher. I know you're currently, you teach a class at University of Nebraska, travel I don't know, I can't even explain the places that you've been. So clearly we can talk about that, but also mother and recent empty nester of a brilliant freshman college student. So I agree with Sylvia. We're so happy to finally get you booked and your busy schedule on our podcast. So I'm just going to start off with some of the questions we wanted to ask you. And one is, I'm curious because I've known you since you were your younger self, but in terms of like just life in general, what advice would you give to Bridget Angela Sims Lewis when you were, just a wee teenager?
Oh, thank you for that question, Dr. Walker. Notice that she used my entire name.
Your government name.
My government name. I think I'm in trouble now. Boy, that's a good question. Advice that I would give to my younger self. I think that's such a great question. And I hear people talk about that often, and you see articles in magazines and people write about, letter to my younger self and things I would have told myself. The only thing that comes to my mind, and I'm sure there are a lot of things I could have advised myself on, but it's that whole concept of no fear. Fear is healthy when it's used in positive ways that help us to grow. But when you're younger, I think it's something that I certainly wish that I had been able to lean into more, not to be afraid to do things. Since you mentioned us going all the way back to childhood, something that Dr. Sylvia might not know is that I tried out for the drill team in high school. My coach.
So let me give them some context. We're talking about Dallas, Texas drill team. It's not a drill team just at some ordinary place. Drill team is serious in the South.
It's big. And at our school, especially so, because I don't know.
What high school was that?
It was Skyline.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's official history, and I want to make this short. The school was known for its drill team because it performed at such a level that other schools admired the drill team. Other schools likely patterned their drill team after ours. Our drill team probably could have performed in competition with certainly some of the junior colleges in that area. One that comes to mind is Kilgore. You remember, Angela, because they had a really well-known, I'm going to say famous drill team. And so I don't even remember how many girls were on our high school drill team, but there were a lot. When you think about other schools, we had a lot. And so to make the drill team was a really big deal. I had never been athletic day in my life, always a bookworm. But it was just something about this team. They were fun. It was diverse. You had girls who were across the socioeconomic platform. They're just all different backgrounds, everything. And I thought, I can't remember if it was going into my junior year, maybe. I don't think I would have waited until my senior year. So maybe somewhere around junior year, sophomore, junior year. And it was the thing. And I thought, oh, I want to do this. But I was scared because I'd never been physical in that way, splits, high kicks, all of those things. And my coach here helped me, worked with me. She couldn't do everything for me because it's an unfair, advantage. But I remember being so proud that I tried. I didn't make it. I cried afterwards, just as some girls cried when they did make it. I cried when I didn't. But I remember thinking later, what was I so afraid of? Like, what held me back? Because the physical, I could have grown, I could have learned. And so I did have regret later that I was fearful, just kind of that fear of, I'm not going to make it. I'm not good enough. I'm not what they're looking for, and that kind of thing. But I wish that I'm a storyteller. I wish that I had continued along that path. And it's interesting because there have been people in my life who've said that they thought I was fearless because I can walk out on a stage and talk to people, or because I can do certain things in that realm that maybe isn't the realm that someone else is comfortable in. But I think, oh, if you only knew how often I have to talk myself up and say, just do it, don't be afraid. But just that whole concept of fear, don't be afraid.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's so much a part of our life as kids, teenagers. As I reflect back, I think I was just naive, like completely naive. I tried out for as you know, everything I could but I came from a really small school, and then into this large, huge, our high school. So I went to school with Bridget. Our high school, Skyline High School, was the largest high school in Dallas, and
in the United States.
Oh, wow. Okay. So,
wow.
and
she is
the
at one point.
It fact checked her. So, but I was so naive that I was just like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And tried out for, almost like everything. But fear, certainly I understand it more as I got older. So it's interesting. I didn't have as much fear when I was at that age, but it started to creep in, later on. And I think that it's an interesting topic that maybe we address, in some future episodes in terms of, how to address it. But you clearly have. So like you said, you just have stepped out there and done it. So I'm so proud of you. But thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Bridget, you mentioned being able to go out on a stage and to speak effortlessly. Tell us about how you got into broadcast journalism.
Well, there's just only one story. I got into journalism because I just thought of the movie Love and Basketball, my first love.
Oh,
basketball. My first love was journalism, the written and the spoken word, visual, the sound of stories on the radio, the way stories were told on the news, reading the encyclopedia. I was that kid. For fun on Saturdays, watching TV with the dictionary in front of me and flipping the pages and finding words that just looked pretty to me.
Wow.
So that was just my world, right? Everywhere I used to go, I carried paper and a pencil or pen in my bag or purse. If we were at the auto body shop and my mom was getting work done on her car, I had something I could pull out and write with. Always. My favorite toy was Speak and Spell. Do y'all remember Speak and Spells?
I clearly didn't have one. Yeah. I remember it, but I didn't have one.
Sylvia's thinking, what is this?
Yeah.
Dictionary. Spell dictionary. It was
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a game for me. That was fun. So I was raised by a single mom. My mom had me when she was in college, and from a very early age, I remember going to class with her. So she would be in class, full class, and I might be sitting either beside her or outside the window. She would sit next to the window and I would be sitting near that window outside. So always with her at the campus library. I remember the name of the library, the look and the feel. Felt nothing was out of place. There weren't other kids around. Didn't bother me because I was with my mom. So that was early reading, writing, storytelling. Once my mom started teaching in her own world, I was often with my grandmother, a nurse. She was a nurse. And she watched the news. She read the newspaper daily, religiously. So what did I do? I sat there beside her and read the newspaper, watched the news, when they talked about something I didn't understand, I would hop up. We had this huge, beautiful wooden bookshelf in my grandmother's den, and one of those old, huge console TVs on the floor. And so I'd be on the floor watching the news. She's in the chair, either sewing or stitching something while she's watching the news. If they talked about, like, I remember being little, I'm going right back to that floor, and they mentioned Ayatollah Khomeini.
Oh, wow.
And I jumped up and grabbed
crisis, 1980. Yeah,
jumped up and grabbed the encyclopedia to look up Iran.
Wait, you have encyclopedias in your house?
We did.
Wow. I had to go to the library to get encyclopedias. We had a dictionary, but we didn't have encyclopedias. Okay.
Yeah. And that was my life. So that formed everything I did in junior high school. I was briefly a part of the newspaper staff, the Tiger Tales or Tiger something, I don't remember. In high school, I was on the yearbook staff, learned to interview people. And back to that fear thing, there's always a little level of fear, nervousness, but I always thought, well, I've got to get this job done. So fear needs to be pushed aside so that I can talk to people and get the story. And so that just naturally led to college and journalism. And then as far as majoring in broadcast journalism, that was just a case of my university, my alma mater, had a journalism college, and you had to choose a major, either broadcasting, which was the study of television and radio, or advertising, or print, which was magazine and newspapers back then. Wow. Since then, they've added sports PR, business PR. It's just exploded in so many different directions. And so I chose broadcast, again, because I loved that medium. I loved that you could tell a story, sometimes with very few words and only pictures or videos. Loved radio. So that's what led me into broadcast journalism. I didn't know that I wanted to be a news producer, but back to that fear. I'd never liked looking at myself on camera. And in college, you do have to study both how to direct, how to produce, how to write, how to edit. And I don't mean like copy editing, but physically editing video and editing audio tracks, laying down tracks on top of tracks, and very kind of complicated storytelling, and being a photographer. And I'd have to shoot the camera for my fellow classmates when they were reporting, just as they would then become the photographer or videographer when I was reporting. And so I just kept along that track. I loved it. I wish that I had learned more about the business side. That's another story. But that led to broadcasting. And then along those lines, you become very comfortable with speaking to people, all kinds of people, all kinds. The president of the university, a governor, a celebrity, a sports, athlete, entertainers, a homeless person, someone down on their luck. And so you learn. And so that's what led to being able to become more comfortable, successful, and then able to speak to people.
Wow. So you have just described, things that I've lived through with you, just your process and how you became a 2-time Emmy Award-winning producer. And yet that's not the end of your story. It's, just a part of it. So our show is Boss Sleep, and we, we want to talk to women that have just made really courageous moves in their career, in their life, in their, just in their relationships. So you went from that, you've been in the college setting, doing public relations. You've had your own public relations firm. Tell us a little bit about what's your process. I mean, obviously we all have these processes when we're making these, boss leap moves. what drives you? What do you use in terms of making the decisions? And, how has that shaped you along the way?
That's a great question. There are a couple of questions in there, but
sorry, I tend to stack. I'm trying to work on that.
That's okay. I always want to make sure that I answer the question that was asked. So I have made a few boss leaps. I like that. What drove me then and what drives me now are people. I'm driven. I'm passionate about people and their stories, and I'm cause driven. So when I made the move to education, it's something clearly that I believe in, and so now you know the history. So always had a passion for education. Never thought I'd work in education ever. I thought I was going to be a lifer and retire from the newsroom. They'd have to wheel me out. The move to education, though, was a lot more natural than I thought. I did return to school to get my master's degree because I thought that I'd been out of school for quite a while and I needed to tighten up some skills, learn some new ones.
What did you get your master's in?
My master's degree is in journalism. It's specifically called professional journalism. So you focus more on the business side of things, the community side of things, and the way in which journalism plays a role in the community, in institutions, organizations. And so first, the reason that I made that move, being very transparent, I was kind of at a crossroads, I felt, where I'd waited for me, it felt, forever to be a mom. And at the point at which my husband and I welcomed our baby girl, I was at an age when many of my friends had high school teenagers and some were grandparents at that point.
Can you share with our listeners how old you were when you conceived?
Yeah,
when you
I was
delivered?
almost 40. I was 38, almost 39.
That's more common. That's Angela's side of the street, obviously as an OBGYN, but that's very common.
Right. It is more common now. It wasn't more common, I felt, 20, 30 years ago, or even in our parents' generation. So I felt behind the ball. And I thought, this is just not going to happen. It's never going to happen. So at the point at which it happened, I thought, my life is complete. I've gotten everything I wanted out of broadcast journalism. I've traveled, I've done, and now I don't want to get too kind of granular in talking about the different types of journalism, but I had done things that some news producers want to do and seldom have the time to do, which is field producing. I've done field producing, and that's basically where your organization sends a team, kind of like a news team, to another location to report on an extended story. And it could be anything from a week at the Super Bowl and everything leading up to that. In my case, it was a tornado that, and I hate using words like wiped a city off the map, but it came close to wiping a city off the map. It was just horrible. And so FEMA was there, and all of these national emergency leaders and what have you. And my station felt that it was a big enough deal that they sent a team, which was a producer. I was the producer. 2 reporters, one to handle day side, one to handle night side, photographers, satellite truck operators, etc. And so I'd done those types of things. I'd field produced, I'd done extended breaking news, and extended breaking news can be something like, I'm really showing my age here, but like the death of Princess Diana, when you have what's called wall-to-wall coverage. That's when the news station goes on the air at midnight and stays on the air through 8 in the morning. So, you know, it's not just a 30-minute newscast or a 1-hour ordeal, but it extended. Something political, something happening at City Hall, a lockdown at a prison facility, or just any number of things. So I've done all these different major weather coverage. I felt that I'd done everything I wanted to get. I'd won the Emmys, worked with my idol, Peter Jennings. If y'all
wow. Really? From ABC News.
Yeah, I produced a town hall meeting and he hosted it. So ABC News came to Dallas and I was the lucky producer. Probably no one else wanted to do it. But
most skilled, I would say. Best fit for that position.
Perhaps. But I'd done all the different types of producing. And I thought, I don't think there's anything left. And now I've got this baby. I'm ready to go. And so what I did, like everything I do, I started to do research. That's the first thing. I started reading. I started doing those little strengths tests, and everything kept coming back to journalism. What are you good at? Writing. Maybe you could tell stories. And I started thinking about these things. So it was natural that education, because a university is somewhat like a city. I would imagine it's a lot like hospitals. You have everything taking place. And so I thought, wow, there are wonderful stories to be told here. Met the right people, reached out, built relationships. So when you talk about boss sleep and making those moves, we all know how important relationships are, and cultivating relationships. I don't think we always do that probably as successfully as we could, but it takes effort. And so I did that, landed at a local university. Interesting story. They had never had an African-American in that high level of a position there in the communications office. This was the university that my mother first attended.
Wow.
Shortly after they started integrating, allowing African Americans into this school, this college. She did not feel welcome. Consequently, ended up leaving, transferring to the HBCU in town, where a lot of African Americans in local DFW attended. When I started working there, she had not been to that university in decades.
Wow.
I ended up inviting her to a basketball game there. Actually, it was the night that we found out that I think we were sitting in the game, and I think I got a message on my phone. I think it was the night that Whitney Houston passed away.
Oh, wow.
They were sitting, I know it's weird. I connect things to historical events. They were sitting there at the basketball game. But I will say that I can't even imagine the thoughts and just the memories and the feelings that she had. But I know she was proud of me, but she just couldn't believe how much the university had evolved and changed. And so anyway, that's like a little kind of detour. But what drove me then, what drives me now, people, the stories. From the university, I also worked at college preparatory school education. In between this time, I did launch my PR consultancy with my husband, because he also has a PR background.
Mouthpiece Communications.
Right. And so we've worked with just so many different types of clients, but always it is the cause, it's the people. We've never done work, maybe to my detriment. That's a joke. I was going to say that was money driven, but always the cause and the people. And so that's what drove me then. That's what drives me now. In corporate America now, I'm at a financial services institution. Never thought I'd be in financial services or banking. But here's something that's really interesting. I was discussing with someone once. I said, at the heart of nearly everything we do is money. Mm-hmm. At the beginning of this segment, I listened to you both talk about the trip to Accra and Europe. You can't travel without money.
Exactly. Money is a tool that we use to hopefully do good with, or to share love with, or to have experiences. Right. Money is not the root of all evil. Money is simply a tool.
It's how you use it, right? That's where the evil comes. Our daughter's in college. When we think about when families, the journey that they take with their children, a lot lead to college, or some, in other directions, but to college. You can't send a child to college without money. We think of college loans, the great American dream to own a home, mortgage loans. Mm-hmm. We think of buying a teenager their first car loans. We think of working, a life well lived, working hard and retiring. Investments and retirement, and how are you going to live and survive in retirement without money? Basic needs, money. So it was just really interesting because I'd never thought of it that way before. I just thought of it as the bank.
The bank.
But there are so many stories to be told. I work in a space that's focused on, it's specifically my segment, or my team, DSRI, diverse segments, representation, and inclusion. And so you have great, wonderful stories of small business owners. When you think of mom and pop shops, and those are business owners. And you think of just so many stories. And so long answer, short, but the short answer is it's always people in the stories that drive me and that move me. And at the end of the day, when I think about getting to the end, I think, did I use the talents that God gave me in the best way possible? And so that's what I always try to do.
Wow. Bridget, you've given us a lot of things to think about, especially when it comes to you making boss leaps, and your motivation for pivoting is the other word that we like to use here on Boss Leap. And I just want to kind of thank you, because when I worked with Mouthpiece Communications with you and your husband, this is back before the pandemic, you were helping me start to market myself, to do media and public speaking. You said to me, write a book. And I said, okay, we're working on it. And we published our book almost 2 years ago now, The Game Plan, A Woman's Guide to Becoming a Physician and Living a Life in Medicine. And the second thing you said to me was start a podcast. And I said, I'm trying, I got to get the book done first. So here we are, you are on Boss Leap. So I want to thank you for pushing me to be more fearless, because all of those things are outside of my natural wheelhouse. And you always encourage me. Certainly, I know you encourage Angela. No, you can do this. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And even in the, full disclosure, even in the capacity of, Mouthpiece, and we kind of begged you guys to help us with the launch of the game plan, and just I've known you forever, but I've learned just so much just in this short segment. and the stories, the ideas that you have. I mean, I call you kind of like a dreamer, right? I think some of us are dreamers. We just have these dreams, these ideas, and your gift is that you give that to people. So I wanted you, along those lines, I wanted you to talk a little bit about the dream that you had to create the book Upside Down, Right Side Up, the children's book that was a top seller, Amazon, fantastic children's book. But I'll let you go into it. But I think that stems from your gift of storytelling and dreaming.
Wow, you said a mouthful. So thank you for that question. I don't even know why I'm pausing, because I know the story. It's so easy to tell a story when you know the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I pause. I have an idea maybe of why I pause. So my husband and my mother often talk about me being such a giving person. My mother has said it often in a way that could almost be taken in the wrong vein. You're such a giving person. She says it to me all the time. And I think it's probably, maybe there have been times when maybe I should not have been so giving, but she and I actually had a conversation about 2 days ago. And I told her I will never apologize for being who I am.
Yeah. Yes.
There have been times when maybe when you think about, I'm thinking about this, just the word bossly. When I think of boss, it just entails so many things. And I think of people who are astute business people and who really know how to make boss moves. But I know there's a difference, and I don't want to get, bogged down in semantics. There's a difference between boss moves, boss lead. But my husband also says, you're so giving. And he's, from day one, he said, let me just say, my husband is a New Yorker. So I like to use that as kind of like a caveat when I tell people, you have to understand, I'm a Southern belle. He's a New Yorker. He's a little bit gruff sometimes, though people don't always know it. And I'm laid back and patient most times and sweet. And he can be kind of in your face, though. He's worked on that and he's not always like that. But our daughter is more of that New Yorker. But he always says, you give things away. And yes, but you should learn to monetize that. And because if I have an idea, I do. It's like I give birth over and over. I just give it away, Yeah. I laughed. And the reason I paused is because I did create and edit a children's book I'm very excited about, very proud of. So many members of my family, my aunt, who's 86, I think, 85, 86, used to gift me with journals. So I always, for birthdays, for different holidays, I always got journals. I had like a collection of journals, like lots of journals. And I used them all. I wrote from the beginning to the end of the book. I had all these journals. Boy, I wish I still had those journals. My goodness. And so whenever I had a dream, a thought, I'd put in the journal. But if I have a thought or an idea or a dream for someone else, I give it away. What they do with it is their business. I'm not always willing to walk them through it. I just hand it to them. Here's what I think you should be doing. Now you go find the accountant or the economist or whomever to help you bring this to fruition. The dream for the book was that it would be written by me and the co-author. The co-author ended up writing the book and did a wonderful job on it. So then my role was shifted to being the creator and editor, but not the co-author. So I chuckle a little bit because I say a kind of little bit of clarification when I talk to people, and I say, well, I'm the creator and the editor, not the author. But if anyone knows about the editing process, they know that the editing process is equally as important as the writing.
That's where the money is. You have all these flowery words, and it's about being succinct and getting the message across. Editing is there's no book without editing. And truthfully, there's no book without the spark of the idea and then being able to execute said idea.
Right. Even that Sylvia, that even is true of other forms of media beyond books and magazines. If you think about any magazine, just any magazine, you've got your writer, but in the masthead, you've got your editor who sets eyes on every single piece and takes accountability for every single piece. The dream for the book was just that. It was a dream. It was as simple as that. I went to sleep. I had a dream. I woke up and my brain was on fire with this dream. Like, oh my gosh, I've got to write this book. I reached out to my co-author and said, listen to this. Had this dream. We need to do this. What's interesting is that there was an interview recently with the radio station, and the author was interviewed. And when the reporter asked, how did this come about? How did this whole thing come to be? The author said, well, my friend had a dream and then I ran with it. And so when I listened to it, I at first paused and then I laughed because I said, that's true. That is true. But as with every story, there's like a story behind the story. And so I thought, well, it is what it is. So
bless her heart. I love that Southern expression. I'm from Los Angeles, but that's my favorite. So we're just going to say, bless her heart, and we are going to bless her.
Yeah. And so that was really the story of it. And so in the interview, it's funny because when you said the dream, when you said the dreamer in the interview, when I heard it, I said, I'm the dreamer. I said, I'm the dreamer. I said, why wasn't my name mentioned? And then that's when kind of like that little vanity creeps in and you think, okay, this is a small little radio. I'm not minimizing I said small little radio. I mean, when I say that, I mean, it wasn't on satellite XM. It wasn't for the world to hear. It wasn't on, New York radio station 1 or something like that. But I was thinking, okay. So that's when vanity does creep in. Let's be real. Not everything is about God gave me this gift and I'm just, So you would like for your name to be mentioned. You do want the credit when the credit is due. I don't want credit for anything that I don't do. If it's crap, sorry, excuse my language. If that's
the worst that she gives.
When I was producing, no, I said some words in the control booth back in the day. But when the, what hit the fan, you take credit for it.
Right.
When the show was amazing, we got wonderful ratings, when we didn't piss off any advertisers, when the sales team was happy because we made their clients happy, when the stories were great, it's a team, oh, thanks team.
Yeah. When
I won my Emmys, I thank the team because one of the Emmys was for the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster when the Space Shuttle tragically exploded. So I was producing that day. I could not have produced that newscast without the team. But it's interesting though that when something does bad, just something does go wrong, people blame the producer or what happened, or a story that's poorly written. People blame. Where's your editor?
So, Bridget, I want to go back for a moment and perhaps kind of have us think about this a little bit. When you talk about vanity, from my side of the street, I see it as you were the co-creator, or you were the creative spark, the creator of this idea for, I'm making sure I have the right title, Upside Down is the Right Side Up. And anytime there was an interview, from my perspective, if I'm talking about our book, I mention all of my 4 co-authors because they are integral in writing of the book. They are my co-authors. If there was a creative idea and we had a creator, we always mention our editor. So I wouldn't call it vanity. And I am saying this, but then coming to the question of sisterhood. So let's kind of talk about sisterhood and what that means to you, and how can we be better supportive of each other as women?
That's a good question. I said that about every question, right? That's a good question. Anytime it makes me stop and think, I think that's a good question. It's interesting because having grown up, well, I was only child until I was 15. So I'm not going to say having grown up an only child.
The 3 of us are all only children.
Yeah,
basically.
But, basically. But the notion of sisterhood, I think, comes from, for me, it is anyone who supports you and helps you to become better. And maybe you don't become better, but they're there to help you or to encourage you to become better, because you might fall and up and down, up and down. I'll use Angela as an example and try not to tear up. So one of the things I have struggled with probably since maybe after college, I don't know, even when I was a teenager, I always felt that I was the chubby one. And it was just really funny because I was a preemie, Sylvia. I was 2 pounds and 3 ounces when I was born. Doctors gave my mom a 50-50 chance of me surviving.
Hey, you're a miracle baby.
And said that if I did survive, I'd have lifelong cognitive difficulties.
They were really wrong.
Yeah. Really wrong.
I was in the hospital for 5 months after I was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought I was so tiny at first. Why am I not tiny? I've never been tiny. But I have felt that weight has been this burdensome thing. Even when it was, I look back at photos of me in high school, and I thought, I always felt like I was the largest, not the largest, but a larger girl. And I looked back at some photos and I showed my husband, and I'm not going to make the face that he made, but he said, "You thought you were heavy?" I said, "Yeah." College, after college, it just struggled. Wait, sisterhood. Okay, now I'm gonna say it. Try not to cry. Is having a friend who supports you through that, listens to you, whether you've said it 1 time, 10 times, after these many years, 100 times, and keeps saying, "You can do it." And they're not saying it because they think it sounds good. They really believe that you can do it. And so I think of that as sisterhood, just someone there to listen. And when you mentioned sisterhood, I thought the last book I think that I read in its entirety was Becoming by Michelle Obama. Yeah. I've read other books. I'm looking at some books right now that I need to read. But even though Michelle just talked about a wide range of things, from her childhood, that family support system, meeting former president, a relationship with her brother, following him to college. The thing that stood out to me, that resonated me, was the sisterhood. That idea of finding your tribe, your people.
Yeah, that will get you through.
That will get you through. That will just, be there in the good and the bad. And so you have a lot of friends who are good friends, and they're like that, but they're not always consistent with it. Like, they drop in. You have friends who drop in and drop out. And they say,
and we love them too.
Yeah, we love them too. Love them too. I'm here if you need me. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I think of sisterhood. And so your question of, I think the last part of your question was how can we achieve sisterhood, or
how can we be better sisters? How can we be better friends? How can we support women better?
I think, and this is so simplistic, but earlier I mentioned building relationships, nurturing relationships in the business space. I think it's the same in the personal space, and being better sisters. We can't always be there physically, but we can send a postcard. Because we know that a postcard means a lot to our friend. We can send an emoji. There are days when I'm busy, but Angela's on my brain, and I send this hand emoji. I don't know if that's supposed to be a high five, a hello, or a yoo-hoo. I don't know. But I'll send that. There have been days when I was working I'm working from home there, but there have been days when I've been at the physical office, and she pops into my head, and I just send the hand. Now, she's busier than I am, but I think she knows that when I send that hand, it means I'm not trying to have a conversation. I'm just letting you know you were on my brain. I don't have time for a conversation. I'm just sending the hand. But I think we can be better sisters that way, showing up to hear them speak, showing up just to, I have a friend who, she calls me sis. We worked together at one point. She's a younger woman, and she's in real estate now. She used to be in PR. She's in real estate, and she is just doing a fabulous job. And so I messaged her one day and said, hey, the next time you have a webinar, let me know. I don't want to be a realtor. I just want to come and support you. And she said, awesome. Thanks, sis. She said, I know you mean that. And she did, and she sent me the information, but I couldn't attend, had a scheduling conflict. But I think those kinds of things, besides Angela, I don't often hear from friends in the way that I would like. And I asked my husband, I said, I feel as if I'm always the one sending messages to say, hey, how's everything? Hope you're doing well. But in that same moment, I'm reminded that that's not being a good friend if you are expecting to receive it back, because you gave it, you expect to receive it. They might be busy, or they might be doing something where they're just not able to reciprocate in the time that you want it, in the way that you want it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't show sisterhood, check on them, encourage them. They're trying to get their recertification or their licensure. That they're going through different things. So just be you.
I know about that. For some people, yes, but it is a relationship. And as we age, our lives are busier and we have more responsibility. But Angela always talks about and reminds me of intentionality. So you're right. the expectation of someone responding to me in the exact same way that I show them appreciation or sisterhood is not necessarily ideal. However, if I'm sending you a postcard and maybe I don't hear it all from you until you need something, or you have a problem, or you want me to show up at your event, but I don't hear anything in between, then perhaps I have to readjust where you are on that list for my own personal sisterhood. And that's something that I've had to learn, to forgive people for not showing up in the exact way that I would do it. But then understanding the way in which they do show up for me. And for those who don't show up for me at all,
then I mean, we're of an age where you can, I don't think you can continue to expend energy when you're not receiving the positive energy back. I mean, so I think sisterhood is having the expectation that that person wants you to thrive, that they receive joy when you are thriving. They're not there for just to hear the tea and to talk about all the negative things in your life, although they're there to hear it when you need to unload. But ultimately their goal is to see you thrive.
I agree with that 100%. And I think I've been really fortunate. I think you get what you give out. I have a cousin who's like a sister to me. Angela knows her. Her name's Carol. We call her by her middle name, Lynn. And she's like a big sister. And she said many times before, you have such great friends. You have such great friends. She said that again and again. You have such great friends. And I think I don't have any friends that I can think of, maybe one. We don't even talk that often, but who call just for tea. But I do have friends who want to see me do well and be well. And one of the things, Sylvia, you just mentioned, I think is, I think it's all in how you, not you, but a person, treats their friendships, and what they, are willing to accept. Thankfully, I don't have a lot of friends, or many, who only call when they need something. You mentioned if the friend only calls when they need something. So that's not when I was talking about sisterhood. I think you should be intentional, have the expectation of the friend being there for you. But I have few friends who only call when they need something. If I am honest, I've got family members who only call when they need something.
That's a whole show right there.
That's a whole show.
So now, would I be there for them in a heartbeat? If I can. But friends, and when I think of sisterhood, I don't have a lot who only call when they need something. And I have some really dear old friends, really good friends, I think, from college. I think of one in particular. I'm going to say her name because I love her so much, Tanya Horn, if she ever hears this. Angela, you met Tanya. She was at the wedding. She's your soror. We don't talk as often as we used to. But when we talk, that love and support, I think, is genuine still. And we're there for each other. We're talking about people who, are just, they're there as much, and in a way, as much as they can be from a distance, they're several states away, but will call to check on me. And and just see how I'm doing, how my husband's doing, how our daughter's doing. Maybe they're calling to share their load, but sometimes not, really just to check on you.
Wow. I have so many more questions for you, Bridget. I think we may have to have you back for another segment.
Absolutely.
But I want to, as we talk about, friendships and, how we hope that people are showing up for us, we want to always kind of come back to how we're taking care of ourselves and how you practice self-care and, just share with our audience how you do that or how you'd like to do that and what that means to you.
I don't think I practice self-care in the way that I should. Like a lot of busy women, and I don't want to make this excuse, but there are a lot of women, we put ourselves last instead of first. I will say this though, I'm making a commitment to better self-care. I think part of my self-care involves prayer. For me, it's even just the spiritual, yes, but just kind of that centering. Usually when I'm praying, I have quiet and peace, and it's just time for me. Sometimes I kind of just go all wobbly and all over the place. But I figure he understands me. He designed me so he can track me.
Absolutely.
Self-care, it's funny because my husband says that he thinks I'm so happy in the kitchen. I don't consider myself a great cook, but I love to be in the kitchen with some music playing. Actually, there's music right now playing. It's just low, some jazz. But I love, you talked about, again, Accra, or I have spices. I like to create. I like to see if I can create something that I've had, at a restaurant. And so for me, it's not even, it's often not about eating.
Creating.
But self-care just takes me to a place that kind of makes me feel good. When I'm in the kitchen, I think of my grandmother often. When I'm creating something really healthy, I think I'm doing something to help myself. I think of my travels. And so that's a form of self-care. But I am planning to learn to swim.
Me too.
That is
Trying to
something
do
I'm
that.
going to do
Awesome.
for me in self-care. But I'm not the woman who spends a lot of time at the nail salon and the hair salon, because quite honestly, I don't have the patience. I don't, it's not that I don't do those things because I don't like them. I don't have the patience.
Okay. Well, Bridget Sims Lewis, we are so thankful that you were here with us today on Boss Leap and sharing your journey. You have left us and our listeners with a lot of pearls, certainly encouraging. Sisterhood for you being encouraging your sisters and other people to be a better version of themselves. Importance of finding your people or your tribe, being cause-driven. I think that's my biggest take home, and people-driven, as well as being able to tell their stories. So again, we thank you for being here on Boss Leap.
And I just have to say, as you were trying not to tear up, what for those that may be watching on YouTube, what you see is what you get. You are 100% authentic. You have been the most amazing friend that I could have ever asked for. And I am just so grateful. And you've been there with me every step of my boss moves, my boss leaps. Always a very sound someone that gives sound advice. You listen well. Obviously, you're a very good storyteller. So I know if I call that I'm going to get some good information and it's worth listening to. But I know you've always got my back. So I love you, girl. I can't wait to see what is next for you. I know it's just, bigger and better, and can't thank you enough for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting choked up. Thank you. I didn't expect to even be a guest, so thank you.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I guess we will add your information in terms of if anyone wants to reach you and how to get in touch. Is there anything that you'd like to add at the end here? I will say that you can get your book, Upside Down is Right Side Up, on Amazon. It is a wonderful read for young girls of any age, really, that are wanting to do something that they may feel like they're called to do, but they're not just quite sure. It talks about, it has some like of her story about, being as a girl of color, made to feel like she didn't belong or fit, and how her support system, which was her parents, made her feel comfortable. I think that's a very good platform in our community to talk about. But yeah, anyway, I could go on and on, but a great read. And it's almost Christmas, as I heard the other day. There's like 15 or 14 Mondays left till Christmas. And by the time this airs, it'll be close to that time. So anyway, just a plug there.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to look forward to just supporting y'all and that y'all.
All right.
Look forward to supporting y'all and learning and hearing more from you. So.
All right. And to our audience, until next time, be well.
Be well.
That's a wrap on another episode of Boss Leap. May this conversation enlighten your path toward personal growth and professional empowerment. For more thought-provoking and eye-opening discussions like this one, head to our website at bossleappodcast.com. Always remember to celebrate your wins and trust yourself. A positive mindset can push you out of your comfort zone and into far greater heights. Until next time, may you be well.
Before we go, there's one more thing the lawyers have asked us to include. It's the legal language, and you know how doctors love lawyers. This podcast is presented only for educational and entertainment purposes. Although we are doctors, on this show, we are just your friends. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. Understood? Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode.